We're joined this morning by Dr. Todd Freeman, the Sylacauga City Schools Superintendent. And Dr. Freeman, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy Dale.
Thanks for being with us. It's been a busy and successful school year.
Yes, school years fly by now. When you get into May and you reflect on it.
You're finishing up your fourth year.
Yes. And in the summer I will have been here 4 years, and that seems like no time ago.
Yeah. What a successful school year, though.
It has been. We started running, literally running. We were heading toward the finish line with construction projects, and specifically across the street from the high school, we finished up the large part of our Legion Stadium project, and we had to continue working on some parts of it through the season, but that was important, and we had completed our work across the street at the high school with some new areas in our new gym and media center. So all that was basically in place. So we got going really fast just with construction, and then when you turn your attention to just the school business itself, things starts really happening fast. And I've been real proud this year of a lot of the accomplishments of our students. We've had many students who've been in competitive events, not just athletics, but academics. And you see a lot of the fruition of those results in the spring. But you're well aware, of course, of our FBLA, our Future Business Leaders of America, won the best program in the state again this year. Our health science occupation students competed and had some state winners, and both of those groups are heading to national competition. We've had competitions with elementary students in the math program. Our Pinecrest mathletes have been competing this year. I've been real thrilled to watch all of that happen, because that really brings a different flavor to what academics is all about. The competition really raises the bar, and kids just eat it up.
Now, you get into the schools quite often here.
Yeah, I try to visit a good bit. Normally I'm in the schools, somewhat of an observational type thing where I get to visit classrooms with principals. I'll go in to each building a couple times a month and make visits with the principals into classrooms. I don't really do a lot of observing formally, but I love to be in there and see what's happening. And I like to bring people in too. And this year we've had several opportunities to do that. We brought my community advisory team. We visited Indian Valley this school year. We brought in leadership Sylacauga this school year, and they visited Indian Valley in the high school. Our Board of Education makes an annual visit to schools, and we were able to. So we try to get a lot of community folks into the building, not even counting the numbers, hundreds of parents that make it through every year. So we think that's important.
Let's turn the calendar back. This time last year, I mean, you were facing big projects and
Yes.
with the remodeling of Legion Stadium,
Yes.
and wondering how we're going to get this done, and the time frame and stuff. But let's go back a little bit and talk about how we progressed from then till now.
Yes, we started in 2015 with athletic construction projects, which we just term them in phases, and we completed our first phase in the fall of 2015, and that was a project where we just did some additional parking at Legion Stadium, and we lit our soccer field up, and we were preparing it for use during the big project. Our second phase and third phase kind of worked together, and they began about a year and a half ago when we started doing a new visitor concession stand, bathrooms, dressing room facilities. That was going on simultaneously to the project on the home side of Legion Stadium, where we put in a new concession stand, redid our press box, did some improvements underneath the stadium, new bleachers, and of course we had a new field turf going on as well. And then when you ride by Legion Stadium, of course you see the new entrance area, which is a fenced-in
that's an eye catcher right there.
It is. We think it's a beautiful thing to see. And so a lot of that was taking place, and we ran it up to about mid-August, finishing up right in time for season. And as you know, with construction, most of the time that often runs right up to the point where you really need it. But that's where we were. And, moving forward now, we have some additional projects that we want to complete.
I couldn't help but notice, I was coming from a ball game the other night on Main. I looked over to the stadium because it's so beautiful, and I saw underneath the press box the lighted Legion Stadium. Man, that's an eye catcher too.
It is. It really looks nice, and we love the illumination part of that, where you can see it is black during the daytime, it's white at night. We think that's a neat feature. That's one of the small improvements we've done since the stadium completed. But this summer, what you'll see happening at the stadiums, we'll be putting new bleachers in on the visitors' side. And what's key about that is we've got the bleachers are in okay shape now, but they're old, but we're putting in a new bleacher set that is accessible for those who need some additional assistance getting into bleachers. That's something that we think is very important for our visitor side. And it'll also come with a press box, so we're able to put our visitor coaches, video crews and radio crews on the visitor side, and we're able to have visitors on their side and home folks on home side. We think that's important.
To clear up some traffic issues,
it does.
too.
We think it does as well. We're doing some improvements underneath the stadium. We'll be we'll be actually renovating some of our bathrooms on the home side. This is some work that we didn't do during the original project. We'll be doing a few things in the press box, a little bit of work on drainage, just siding, things like that to really finish off the project.
And the scoreboard, fantastic.
Scoreboard looks great. That was a later part in the season, later than we wanted it to be, but once it got set up and the video part and the audio part was working, it's fantastic. I mean, Jimmy Dale, you can hear that clearly from where we're in this building where we're sitting several blocks away.
Dr. Todd Freeman, the Sylacauga City School Superintendent, our guest for a few more minutes in his fourth year, finishing up his fourth year as superintendent here. One thing that I didn't make mention of prior to us coming on, when you have a fantastic facility like this, not everybody is pro improvements. And I noticed this week that there was a search for someone who had broken into the concession stand. Any word on that?
Not at this point, but the police department has done a great job with this. And last Friday, I believe it had been last Thursday evening, we had a break-in, and that was unfortunate. I was disappointed in our brand new building on the visitor side, but we'll get the things repaired. But one of the things I think that was important as part of that project is that we had security features on our buildings, camera systems and things of that nature, and the person who got in the building actually stole the camera, but that really doesn't do any good because we've already got the footage. So we were able to have a clear shot and identify who the person was, and the police have been working since then. I have no doubt that they'll take care of that.
Academic successes this year were boundless.
They were. We've had a really strong year. Once again, our seniors have performed very well. Next Tuesday, we've got a senior awards banquet, and you'll hear the number of scholarships that we've awarded this year the seniors have worked for. But as I mentioned earlier today, FBLA had another stellar year. The host of competition, the health science students, had a stellar year. We have had state champions that have competed in Scholars Bowl. I mentioned to you the mathletes that have competed. Now, we have been in testing in the last month, which that means ACT testing, Aspire testing, but it also means we're working on credential testing, and that's for our students in high school that can get credentials that qualify them to go into the workplace. So we'll be excited this summer to see the good work that's been taken in the schools, and I look for some really nice results. I don't oftentimes try to take a lot of stock in rankings, but this year has been something we haven't seen in several years, that we're beginning to get some publicity with rankings. The USA Today came out and placed our high school as 40th out of over 300 high schools in the state.
Quite an honor.
It is, based on their rankings. I was pleased with that. There's a group called niche.com that ranks schools, and we were ranked in the top 30 of 137 school systems in the state. And we want to continue to get better. As I say, the march toward excellence is something that we just continue to do.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Todd Freeman, our guest, Sylacauga City School Superintendent, and I think it was last month, we had teacher recruitment.
We
here
did.
In Sylacauga.
We did. The spring is a busy time for us in terms of recruiting. One of the things I've been pleased about with Sylacauga is that we retain teachers at a very high rate, typically over 90%, and that's fantastic retention. The last couple of years, it's been a little lower. We've had a large number of employees that have been with us a long time, teachers that have retired. And that's starting to happen in a lot of schools because the baby boomer generation is reaching those points. So we've been very aggressive in recruiting at universities, campuses throughout the state. We've done that all spring. And we also offered a job fair of our own this year to bring in folks to see Sylacauga. Mm-hmm. The hospital, Coosa Valley, was with us that day. The chamber was with us that day because we want to market Sylacauga. We're confident that if we can get teachers to us, they'll see how good a place it is and they'll want to be here.
Graduation ceremony coming up soon too.
Graduation's coming up May 18th, 7 o'clock. It'll be in the high school, which will be the first time we've been in what's been a newly renovated auditorium. It has a new sound system and audio system. We're real pleased with that as well. But we'll have a crowded space that evening because there'll be a lot of proud, happy parents and other family members that come. But it will be the culmination of, I think, another great year at Sylacauga High School.
Goals for continuing success in the next year or two?
Well, the thing that we think is most important is how we best engage our students. I mean, authentically get them into learning mode, because you and I have both been to school before. Sometimes school cannot be engaging and it gets a little bit less as they get older, but we really want to focus on engagement. A key piece of that, we think, is to bring the Digital by Design initiative to life, and where all of our students in grades 3 through 12 will have a Chromebook issued to them, and we'll have one for every 2 at Indian Valley. That's not something that's automatically going to make things much better, but the tool opens up the world of information to our students. And we think it's an equity piece as well, because all of our students get this, whereas in the years past, we've not been able to provide textbooks for all of our students. So that's a transformational thing we've been preparing for all year. We'll make some mistakes and hiccups when we get started, but that is a really exciting part of what's coming next year.
Has the learning curve been what you thought it would be?
Well, I will say this. I was telling a group yesterday of students, when you quit making mistakes, I don't think you'll be alive. I make mistakes. I've made some probably before I got here this morning. But when you start something new, there are always new things. But I cannot express how important it is when you're in the world, in your career, that you are surrounding yourself by mentors that prepare you for what's next. And I got to tell you, Jimmy Dale, I was blessed. I had some fantastic mentors in my previous work experiences that helped at least give me some sense of what we were doing. But certainly there's been some things we've learned. I
in the community quite a lot, and I often hear people refer to you as a superintendent with a listening ear.
I want to be. That was one of the things that my mentor, that was my superintendent in my previous school system, was an outstanding listener, and I've not always been, but I try to be very intentional about that. I have learned, and I try to always go back to what Solomon said in the Proverbs, to surround yourself by advisors. That's basically the smart thing to do. So community advisory team, a new parent advisory team we'll have this year. I have a student advisory team, a teacher advisory team. I just like to listen. It helps me. If we can get to the point where we trust each other and you can just tell me what you think, it makes a big difference. So I want to be, and I want to know when I'm not listening. I want people to tell me that.
We have the summer feeding program too as well for kids.
We've been fortunate. We're able to do some work. SAFE helps us with the summer feeding program. Alabama Childhood Food Solutions is outstanding throughout the year. As you know, that has just blossomed for us. But it provides meals for students in after-school programs, in summer school programs, for our athletes that are practicing. So, the issue of hunger is real. And it's 1 in every 4 students, most statistics will say, are struggling with hunger.
It's almost shocking, isn't it?
It is. And if you're in higher poverty areas, and Talladega County tends to be, that number's probably more. So we've got partners that are fantastic to help us stand in the gap for our kids during those tough times.
We almost see it daily with the media coverage that we have now of incidents in schools all around the country. Talk this morning in closing about the safety of your students.
Well, it is paramount. It is the single most important thing that we'll do in a school system is once they get on the bus, until the point that we drop them off the bus, or once they arrive at school, that we keep them safe and we keep our employees safe. I would be amiss if I didn't tell you that I don't worry daily about things like that, because we have a great system in place. We've got great partnership with our police officers. We have 2 full-time SROs that are in our building, school resource officers. We've got security features on our building. We've got security procedures that our staff follow. And I'm in buildings all the time, and I know they do a really good job with this. But unfortunately, we live in a tough world, and you just wonder and worry about the things that you couldn't control that can happen. But I think that watchful eyes and ears in the community are always helpful. Like we were able to identify a person last week on a camera, and having those things in place help mitigate the possibilities of those things happening. But spring's always a little bit worrisome. That's when those events tend to escalate across the nation. So we pray daily that our kids will be protected, and that we do the things and provide the things to secure their protection.
Well, we're in the final few weeks of the school year, and we got graduation coming up and a few more things as well. How would you finally this morning classify this school year?
Well, I would say opportunities would be a great way to put that. We have opportunities every year, but realistically, our school year has been fantastic. We have learned a great deal. We have a community, I think, have had to pull together in some ways. We had some unfortunate circumstances in October that impacted one of our students in particular. But all of our student body and parents and families, community, teachers were all impacted. And what I've seen through a lot of conversation and honest talk with folks in the community, people I depend on, teachers, students, is it's important to always have real, authentic, raw, honest conversations about issues that we disagree on or that could divide us. And so this year will be one in my career I'll always remember is watching that take place and watching the metamorphosis in the community and overcoming a struggle. It doesn't end, those problems don't end, but we want to be able to always improve and get better. And that's been something I've been proud to be a part of and watch see happen.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Dr. Todd Freeman, Sylacauga City Schools Superintendent, our guest this morning.